Welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast, where our mission is to encourage, equip, and empower every woman on her faith journey with Jesus Christ. Today, we are honored to hear from credentialed minister, brand producer, new auntie, and Minnesota-born girl, Morgan Pearson, as she has a conversation with our podcast host, McKelty Bloom. In this episode, you will hear Morgan, someone who likes to plan, share how she strives to be flexible towards God's plans and is working on being obedient to His call. Morgan will also talk about how God's plan can make our original plans even better. She hopes to encourage other planners who struggle with wanting to follow God's call for their life while also wanting control. I hope you enjoy this podcast.
Well, this is a long time coming, but welcome to the podcast, Morgan.
Hello. I'm so excited to be on. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here because I know you personally. We've been friends since college, and I know that you have so much wisdom in what we're going to be talking about today. And I just get excited, one, because I get to talk to you, and two, because I'm like, oh, people are going to be so encouraged.
Oh, good. I know you say wisdom. Thank you for saying that. But I think it's mostly because I've gone through some of the hard part. It's more wisdom from like experience because,
Yeah, that's still a part of wisdom. We go through it, we learn, we figure it out as we go.
Yes.
But I've wanted you to come onto the podcast for a while because I know your heart for the topic of just God's timing in our lives and following His path and obedience. And that's where we're going to camp out today and just talk a lot about. And before we get started, I know you well, but would you introduce yourself for those of us listeners who may not know you very well?
Yes, my name is Morgan Pearson, and this is such a where do you even start with this? But I was born and raised in Farmington, Minnesota, grew up out in the country. We built a house on my grandparents' farm, so definitely lived the country life growing up and loved that. Awesome experience out there down on the farm. And then in college, I went to North Central and loved it downtown there. But now I currently, and we'll get to all this in my story, but reside in Miami, Florida, and love it here. And huge fan of Bridging the Gap and your podcast. Yeah, and McKelty, we've known each other. I think it's almost 10 years.
It's gotta be almost 10 years.
Which is nuts. I still feel like we're in college. I'm excited to chat and and thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny because I'm sitting here in my dark, dreary basement and you're in this sunny room in Florida.
Yes. Gotta get the rays.
Oh my gosh. So it just cracks me up. But you have also been involved with Bridging the Gap, and you were actually the person that connected me to Bridging the Gap and worked at the district. You wanted to share a little bit about what you did at the district?
Yes, I was in the youth department, so Minnesota Student Ministries as the admin there, and I worked with Kirby St. John. If you know him, you love him. He always makes you laugh. I always used to say I would cry most days at work, but it was because I was laughing so hard at his jokes, and he's just a really fun guy. So I worked in the youth department, supported Kirby in his role, planned all the youth events, camp, fine arts, youth convention, all the things, which is really awesome. And I'll talk about that a little bit more too. And then I worked right across the hall from the Bridging the Gap team, Kristen and Carol at the time. So shout out to both of them. They're amazing. And they would kind of pull me in and ask me to be a part of things. And it was really fun to also do different things with Thrive and different Bridging the Gap events. So, I was kind of by default with working in the office, but also I kind of had a passion for that too. So, and so fun, yes, to have you connected. And it's been so awesome to see you just grow and thrive in this role and all the different opportunities that come because of that. God is so cool on the way He just connects people's paths. And this has been a passion on your heart to do this. So fun and honored that God connected us and used us for this.
Seriously. Yes, he is good at doing that. So we're going to talk today. I kind of alluded to it a little bit about just God's timing. And you and I are both like type A planning people. Like we have connected from the start on that in college. And I know that about you. And one of the
our group projects were pretty great.
We were group project partners. We knew what we were doing. It was great. But one of the things I have absolutely loved to see in your life and have had the privilege to watch you go through it all is just how God has moved you in so many different directions and in so many different experiences in college and after college and ending up where you are now. But to see how it's all completely been for his glory and his good, and it's all been a plan, even in those moments we're sitting somewhere and you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to do. And I just would love to hear more from you today on that experience and just encouraging people too, those of us who are sitting here just like, I don't know where God is calling me to, or I feel he's calling me in this way, but I'm scared. But just the planners out there need that encouragement. But let's go back to the beginning of college and what were your goals, your career choices, your thoughts as you came into college, and how did those change and grow while you were there?
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's like you love your type A planners, you need them in life, but it's a hard role to be in sometimes. But yeah, going into college, I had a huge passion for fighting human trafficking. Actually, that passion started for me back when I grew up in Assemblies of God Church in Farmington, Minnesota. And we would always go to MYC, or Minnesota Youth Convention, growing up. So it was actually there, one of the speakers, it was my first time ever hearing about human trafficking. And it just marked me. Like, it started a passion in my heart for wanting to do something about it. And especially growing up in a small town, I was like, how in the world why is this happening? Like, never heard of it. So I was also in high school or whatever, like the counselor of my friends, like everyone would come to me for this and that. So I knew I wanted to do something in that realm, and there wasn't a fighting human trafficking major. So the next best thing, with just some guidance and counsel of people that I knew, was for social work. So yeah, I was dead set on social work. And I think being a type A planner, like I know you did a little bit, but like I didn't change like all the way through. I was like, that is what I'm doing. This is what I know, like God's calling me to do. And I'm on a mission to get it done and to do this. So that was kind of my drive and my what I thought like plans for me all throughout college. And that was like my big motivation with college, going to college.
Mm-hmm. And you ended up graduating with your social work degree and got licensed as a social worker. Mm-hmm. And so you're on this mission.
All the hoops for that.
All the hoops to get to that place. So you're graduated, you're licensed, you're like, okay, I think that this is what I want to do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then walk me through then what happened after college.
Yeah. So I right away, even in when I heard about human trafficking and the injustice of it, I started following like nonprofits or organizations that were like doing something about it. And one of them was A21, which is Christine Kane. A lot of people are probably familiar with her. She's a well-known preacher of the word around the world. So she has an organization called A21, which stands for Abolishing Slavery in the 21st Century. And that was an organization that I had followed like since like 10th grade. So I was like, I want to do an internship there. And they have locations around the world, but their main base was in California. And just kind of a cool coincidence too, that I had family that lived out there, like 10 minutes away from the office. So right after college, that was like my dream organization. Like, this is where I would love to work and want to be. Looking back, I'm like, I definitely put that kind of on a pedestal. Like, this is the end all be all goal, which isn't bad all the time. But I think my heart looking back was like very like locked in or connected to that, like all happening. So I did get accepted and I did do the internship out there. But however, that didn't go the way I planned either, because not that's a bad thing, but I feel like a lot of times when people intern somewhere, they're like hope and dream is like to get hired on, and like more likely than not, you're probably not going to. But I was so bummed after, because I thought this was the dream or the goal. Like, I want to work here, and it didn't happen the way I wanted it to. And just even like being, and this is a whole nother topic or layer, but it just wasn't the experience that I thought it was going to be either. I was straight out of college too, so a little naive, I guess, but being in like a Christian organization or ministry, like you think it's going to be a certain way, or people are going to act and be, we all love Jesus and we're going to whatever, but it wasn't butterflies and rainbows all the time, I'll just say. But it was awesome. Like, overall experience, love them, what they're doing. Like, they really are changing the world and helping those that are enslaved in human trafficking and all that. But yeah, it was such a bummer when it was done, because I didn't get hired on there. They had talked to me a little bit. I think that also like raised my expectations of that happening. So that was definitely like broke my heart, I'll say, like after. And I moved back home because I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like, my community's there, or did my internships, because this was still the goal, is to work at a safe house. And then coming back, there was someone from my internship connected me to this pretty much shelter for youth that had been trafficked or were vulnerable to being trafficked. And I just was like, wanted to work there so bad. It's like, whatever I can do to get in. And after like 2 months, I got a job there, but it was the overnight shift, and it was not a glamorous social work job at all. I felt like I was like, I don't know, like a youth leader, like in a maid, like I was having to clean and this and that. And I was definitely willing, and this is part of it too, like to put in the work and like start somewhere. And, maybe over time I could do a day shift or whatever, but it was just an overall like very toxic environment where like I wasn't learning, people weren't willing to like pour into me, like my oversights and all of that. So that was another big heartbreak for me on, granted it was one organization in one place, and I just was like, my God, like I thought this was it. And I did all these things and this is what I wanted. And why did it turn out like this? And this is for sure, like when I called you up, it was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I tried this and I literally felt like I was going through like an early life crisis, a little dramatic, but just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, this is what I thought I wanted to do, and it's not working out. Like, I feel like I keep running into walls or closed doors, and it's just not, I don't feel like this is the full dream or vision that like God really put on my heart. So that was kind of that journey a little bit with social work. Then after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to be open maybe to something else that isn't social work. And started working for a nonprofit in Minneapolis in their event department and help plan things, because I was like, I love planning, and that's just their job opening that they had there, help planning the events. And I was there for about a year, and then after that led me to working at the district for 3 years. And then after working at the district for 3 years, another dream, or the one that, again, back like in college or back whenever, I would have never thought of, led me here to Miami. And I did a program here, a leadership program at a local church. And that just finished up. And this is part of it too. Like, I feel like you can always be in this season where I do feel like I'm kind of back in this, like, what's next for me. And just kind of figuring out what's next. I will say though, it is, with getting older and growth over time, it is fun to look back and be like, Morgan in college would be freaking out right now. Like, what's next? Or I have to have a plan. Like, what do I need to do? But I've been pretty calm and collective with being like, okay, God, I know, you've showed up for me times before, and you've, made my path, my steps clear. And I'm not freaking out as I think old Morgan would be right now. So that's kind of like a brief timeline. I guess, of my past and kind of where I am today.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to speaking out in this planning stage and not knowing what to do, but you have over time been flexible and have figured it out. And, how do you balance having your own dreams and goals and your own personality of just being type A or a planner, but then not being too prepared and having the opportunity to be flexible for whatever God has for you?
Right. I think we talked about this a little bit, like being type A and planning, I think goes hand in hand with perfectionism. And that can be a very fine line and hard line, like to walk with that. But I think it's good to be prepared. But it also can creep into being controlling. And I just think I look back to even myself in college when I definitely was operating in those not good traits of controlling and perfectionism. I just look back and I'm like, I was even controlling in planning or whatever, like in my friendships and like even in my like relationships, like whoever I was dating at the time. Like, I'm sorry to all my past boyfriends and friends, but I look back and I'm like, I was controlling over their lives as well and overthink because I wanted everything to go according to my plan or what I thought should happen or what society tells us at the time or culture. So I definitely look back and I'm like, it can be such a fine line where you can be prepared and it's good to think ahead and do all the things, but it can easily flip over to being controlling and things have to be perfect. And that can ruin a lot of friendships, relationships, and just different areas of your life. So I think that would be one thing, like being able to look at myself, identify, is this coming out of control? Or am I afraid of something? Is that why I'm trying to be in control? Or did something happen in my past that's maybe bringing this out in me to feel like this needs to be perfect or it can't happen this way again? So just identifying, like, am I trying to take this into my own hands? Because usually, pro tip, doesn't turn out the best when you do that at all. But I think this is the tension I've struggled with though too. And I feel like I'm always thinking through is like, but it is so good to have dreams and visions. And like, God calls us to do that. Like he's made us like with an imagination and like, he's created us to have that and live in that. And it's such a crazy, like I'm looking out to the skyscrapers and things like someone like thought how to build this and how to dream and a vision for that. So I think it is good to have those things, but let God lead them, and I would always get frustrated with people be like, what's your calling? Or this is such like a church, a Christianese, right, word or phrase of like, what's God calling you to do? And I'd get so frustrated because I'd be like, I don't know right now. Like, it's kind of like when someone's going off to college and at their grad party, they're like, what are you doing now and next? You better have something to say because everyone's going to ask you. Just kidding. But I would just get so frustrated with like, what are your dreams? And I think I've just had to come to a place of like, my calling is to be a Christ follower and whatever he's calling me to do or to be, like, I'm going to be obedient to that. And I might have all these dreams. I've also learned there are some people in life that are the visionary, like that's their strength. And then I've realized in my own life, like I'm the person that maybe comes along and like supports these people and their dreams and what God's put on their heart, because they're not able to do all the little logistics or the things to really make that thing flourish. So it's like, it is a cool like teamwork with that. But I just had to come to a place where like I follow Jesus and like dreams and visions like will come like from that in my life. But also having to be, I think, open to changes and pivots, like in obedience with that. When things change and maybe they not go as planned, like I think it's a character test too. Like, am I freaking out? Like, how do I respond when things like that happen? And really have to take a step back and have the perspective of, okay, since this isn't going the way I'm planned, I'm not going to get mad and frustrated at myself or someone else or God, but I'm really going to look at it as like, okay, God, you're trying to grow me. You're trying to refine me here. So like, what do you want me to learn from this? And what are you trying to show me more about like your character that I may not learn any other way or from any other sermon or from book? Like you're trying to teach me something through, this pivot or this dream changing or not happening. Like, what are you trying to show and do in my life that it wouldn't get through to me any other way, I would say too. And then, the last thing, and this is very hard, I think, for type A people and having to grow in this, is to have fun. Have fun with your life and your dreams and the process. Like God wants us to enjoy life and not just be going through it to just surviving day to day and living this woe is me life. But I'm serving God. Like there's not this like badge of honor for that. And I think it's easy to put that on that badge of honor, like, oh, but I'm sacrificing this dream or I'm not doing this for that. But like, what are the things that he's created in you that you love that makes you different from anyone else? Like can even be something silly. Like for me, like a huge reason why I moved down to Miami was like, I loved the beach and like, I wanted to be by the beach. And that's not all like, I don't know, spiritual or like God saying this exact, he did through other things and reasons, but another big reason was because of that. So I think it is like tapping into like, what do you enjoy in life? Like what brings you joy or what makes you happy, like what makes you feel like alive with that. And but also test it, like is this something that's biblical in the word? Is it rooted in truth? Is there anything that that maybe isn't in line with his word, that I shouldn't do this or have this dream or whatever? And it can ask trusted people in your life, but if all those things add up to like green lights, then do it, have fun. And yeah, sometimes I just feel like God is saying like, Morgan, what do you want to do? Like what is it can look different or it can change, but like, there's no wrong choice here. Like when we are truly like following the Lord in our day-to-day life and obedience, like I think a lot of times, God is saying, McKelty, like, what do you want to do? Like, you can make this decision. Like, it's good that you ask and pray, but at the end of the day, like have fun with where you are in life too.
Yeah. That's a really good, just like reframe of somebody who might be really struggling with, I want to do this plan that I came up with, or someone who was like, I genuinely want to do what God has for me and I want to go on his path and are just so afraid of doing the wrong thing. I know I've struggled with that. It's like, I so desperately want to be on the path that God has for me. What if I mess it up? What if I do something?
It can be paralyzing so that you don't even do anything. And I think sometimes too, and this is something it's hard for me, is like, I'm so indecisive with things too, because I do want to pick the best thing. Like, but I want to wait. Maybe the best thing's coming, or I don't know what to pick. Like even the little things, like where to go to eat, whatever. But then like, if I struggle with those little decisions, like I know I struggle with the big decisions too. And, I think even, not making a decision, like is a decision in itself, because you're not, you're not making a decision with that too. But yeah, I know this is all like easier said than done too. And like in the moment, it might not be easy to have fun and do all these things, but I think it's just a good reminder that even in those tough times, like just to be reminded of these things too.
And, like you said, is if you are somebody that is struggling with that kind of paralyzing fear of like, okay, well, this was the plan I wanted, or this is what I thought what God's original plan was for me, but it's not. Just to take that moment. And I love what you said of just saying like, you know what, I'm a Christ follower and I am just going to step in obedience in the areas that he is guiding me to, because you have specific dreams and desires and passions that God created you with. Like you have those for a reason. So kind of just follow that lead of where is this taking me? Like, wow, I really love writing. I think I'm going to try writing, or like art, or, something along those lines. And he guides you in that. So I just loved that reframe and thinking.
Yeah. And I think with that too, like when God speaks little like dreams or stuff or plans in our heart too, like they don't always make sense at first, or they don't seem like logical, or like that I need to do something that makes me money, or I need to do something that benefits my family or my husband or whatever. But I think it's like no one else is going to maybe understand it at the time or at the beginning, because it's what God is calling you to do. He's not calling anyone else. Like it's a direct line between you and him, and no one's going to understand. And I think that's a big thing for me, or people that like I've gone through, or that you want validation, or you want to make sure other people like support what you're doing. You care about what other people think, but it is having to let go of that. I know God's calling, have this confidence of, I know God is calling me to do this, and it may not make sense right now, but like, I'm going to trust him like in the process, even if I can't see the finish line right now.
Yeah. So something you talked about, which I think so many people feel this deeply, is, you do all this work of going to school, getting your social work degree, getting licensed. You're like, social work, this is what I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm now moving into more of a ministry role. I'm now moving into more of a planning role. I'm considering getting, credentialed. Like there's all of these things. Yeah. And something that I know you struggled with, and you talked about a little bit, is like, did I waste my time like being in that career? Like, did I do the wrong thing? Yeah. Like, so talk to the people who might just be feeling really guilty or just struggling with not being in the career that they thought they would be in, or that they went to school for. What just advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I think first it kind of just gets to like, I spent all this time and money in school for this, specific career, and now I'm not doing anything with that. That was definitely hard for me to swallow, especially when I was like making kind of the career shift, or like new different routes were opening for me in different ways. But I wish someone in college, or maybe you didn't go to college and you're just figuring out like what to do in life too, or whatever you kind of stepped into after high school, was that you may not do what you have your specialty in, and like, that's okay. I mean, most people even don't do that. Like, I have so many people, you meet some people, they're like, oh, I went to school for this, but now I'm doing this. And it's like night and day difference too. And, yeah. So I think I did feel a ton of guilt. And I think that's why after college, I kept going, to you and a couple other friends that we were in the same like cohort together in school, but being like, I don't know what to do, because I think, I don't know if I felt like, since I went to college for this, I like signed my life away to this one field, and I didn't give it a good enough try or whatever. And I had a couple people like make some like, hard remarks to me too, being like, oh, the world's missing out on a good social worker, or you should have done this and that. And like, being young, I think I let that take root in my heart too much. So I think that's something else too. Like, take what other people say, like, with seriously a grain of salt, because again, what I was saying before, like, they're not in the relationship. It's not you, this other person, and God in the relationship. Like, it's a direct line between you and him, and it may not look like, what you thought it was going to be, but if you're being obedient in what he's calling you to, he has like best plans for you, and living life a little bit more. And I'm sure even ladies that are like older than me, or have a family, or have grandkids or whatever, can see that like God truly does like set you up like season by season. And I look back and I'm like, oh, that's why I went through that, because it helped me prepare or get ready for this next thing that I didn't know was coming, or I didn't plan or prepare for. But I can see how God has like woven situations or people or whatever like into my life. And like, I truly believe that like he does set you up season by season, and he doesn't give you the like picture of the puzzle box cover, what the puzzle should look like. Like, he just gives us piece by piece, and it forms together in like the most beautiful way that I do take a step back and I'm like, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have thought of that or planned that like on my own.
Yeah. And I just think that people hold on to so much like shame and just feeling of like, oh, I quit at this, or I lost this, or, I just feeling, like you said, just really like guilty and like a waste. But I don't think you ever waste your time. I think, like you said, you learn in every single season. And you, Morgan, have learned so much in how just to be compassionate and like just understanding people better from all of those years learning about social work. And so that directly goes into ministry. You're working with people and understanding them better. And so you are able to bring this whole new just piece of yourself into that because of what you experienced. And so I think people really need to be able to take a step back and look at it that way too. It's like, what did I learn from that experience? What am I taking with me instead of what am I giving up? Like, what did I waste my time on?
Right. That's so good.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe that we're already like getting close to our time being done. We could sit and talk about this for hours, and we have. But just what is just encouragement that you have as we're wrapping up here for that person who really is just the planner and really struggling to let God take the reins, whether that is because of fear or because of just control. I'm someone where I thought, if I don't do it, like it's not going to be done correctly. Right. And that's something I had to battle with in giving it to God. So just what are just final pieces of encouragement that you have for those people that are listening today?
Yeah, I think with that too, it is killing like the expectations, like unmet expectations, like build resentment in your life. Like between expectation and reality, like all that space in the middle is like room for disappointment too. So I would say that like when you kill the expectation, it creates room for something new and something new for God to do. I think Stephen Furtick has a quote that I always hold on to, that expand your expectation to include what you didn't plan for, because that does usually happen, but happens with that. But I would just say, just position your heart and your life into a place of surrender. It's humbling and it's hard, but it takes the pressure off of you. And it's so freeing to know I don't have to plan everything. I don't have to be perfect in everything that I do. And just being present and plan and prepare with God, but not like too far ahead, just stay in your lane. And I know that's a popular phrase too, or the course that and try to block your brain and your mind, your perspective to going to the what ifs, or I should plan if it goes this way, or like worst case scenario type of thing. But just talking about planning here also, to really like hold on to this. I love this verse, but Proverbs 16:9, we can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. Another version of that is, within your heart, you can make plans for your future, but the Lord chooses the steps you take to get there. So just really holding on to that truth and that hope that, again, takes the pressure off. But I think a lot of times too, like we see God maybe doing like 5 or 10 things in our life, but really behind the scenes, like he's doing so much more than we even know. And like that our minds can like comprehend with that too. And I think, again, I said, you're a little bit older or whatever, but like hindsight really is 2020. And I look back into my life, like I think it's just a good reminder for all of us just to stop and look back for all the ways like God has provided for us. And, just having been like, all right, I've gone through hard things before. I've been in this position before. Like I said, where I'm kind of at right now is like, I don't know what I'm maybe going to do next or what the next thing is, but I know like God's come through for me in my life. Or I've heard of other stories for people, and I'm believing that, for my life. But, he truly knows what's best for you. And I know there's been a lot that's happened over these last years with COVID, pre-COVID, where there has been a lot of disappointments and things that have messed up our plans. But, our prayer just should be that I don't know what you're doing, God, but even if this happens or this doesn't happen, like I trust you and I want you to do a new work in me and to use me. And if different doors open and close, like I'm going to walk in and out of those doors, like with confidence. And I would also say, like, notice who's around you and like what you're listening to and what's like really like feeding your heart. Like make sure that's, building up truth and calling you to be who God's called you to do and challenging you. And just have to, this is why I'm like preaching this to myself, like I said before too. I think this is like an ongoing thing in life where we have to come back and just remind ourselves of that. But and even each season brings like a different level of this, where you really have to lean into like, okay, God, I'm going to be all in right now and present in this season. And I want to get from it what you're trying to show me, because I don't want to look back and be like, I missed out on this, or I have to learn this a different way, but how can I learn and grow right now? And just, you're doing so much better than you think you are. I think that's another thing. We're very hard on ourselves as humans, and just ask God for wisdom and what to do, and just tune into the Holy Spirit and his promptings and what he's leading you to do, because that will never lead you wrong. And I would say too, like if you're going down a road and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here or what's happening, like, but I feel like God is leading me here, like keep going down it, because you don't know what's going to be at the end or what's going to happen through it. Like give it time, like for it to happen and to wait on God. Because it could be something beautiful from like the unexpected. And I think the very last thing, I know is a lot there, but you can prepare and plan the way you want to go, but it may not go the way you plan. But I do believe, in testimony of my life, it'll turn out even better than you would have thought or could have planned for. So I hope that encourages someone and just where they're at. And I think it's just a general wherever you're at in life and you're wanting or hoping for something, but just knowing that, God has the best for his children, and he loves us. And at the end of the day, I think it's just, letting go and letting him really like take over in our lives.
Yeah. Oh, I love all of that. And it is so encouraging. And I know people will listen and just feel empowered just to take that next step if they have been holding back in an area, just out of fear of like, I don't want to do the wrong thing, or just scared that this looks different than what I thought it would be. It just to empower them to take it. You have no idea what could happen. So Morgan, you're always so encouraging. and I just think that your life truly is a testimony of just like following God in whatever he has, even when it's hard or scary or stretches you. So thank you for being here today and just helping everyone else.
Yes, no, it's been an honor. And you guys are a great resource, and all your stuff is so encouraging for every season of life too.
Well, thank you. Until next time, right?
Yes. Next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Bridging the Gap podcast. We were honored to hear from Morgan Pearson on following God's path as a planner. Learn more about Morgan and her current involvement at VU Church in Miami, Florida by following at MOJO Pearson on social media. You can also learn more about Bridging the Gap at mnbtg.org by downloading the Bridging the Gap app through your app store, or by following MNBTG on social media. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to being with you next time on the Bridging the Gap podcast.